Welcome to Twice 5 Miles Radio, fertile ground for conversations worth listening to and remembering. I'm your host, James Navé, always airing first on WPVMLP Asheville, 103.7, and streaming online, WPVMFM.org, the voice of Asheville, heard all over the world, and on other community radio stations like KCEI, Cultural Energy Radio, out of Taos, New Mexico. Thank you, Walter Parks, for our theme song, walterparks.com for more on Walter's music. Thank you, Davine Dial, for managing WPVM-FM in Asheville, and Robin Collier for managing KCEI, Cultural Energy Radio, in Taos, New Mexico. If you'd like to reach me, Navé at jamesnavé.com. Navé is spelled Nave. I'd like to remind you that we're sponsored by the Imaginative Storm Writing Project. If you'd like to improve your writing, get a little bit better on that page, imaginativestorm.com is a great place to go to start that process. Every Saturday and every Thursday, my creative collaborator, Allegra Houston, and I host a free Zoom Imaginative Storm community gathering. It lasts an hour, 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday and noon to 1 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday. We generate 10 minutes worth of timed writing. We have some salon conversations. We also read our work aloud. It's a very interesting time, so we would love to have you join us. It's free. It's a community gathering. Imaginativestorm.com is the place to go for that information. Today, I have a friend on whom I've known for many, many years. Her name is Kelly Hanson. Kelly's an artist. She's also a teacher. She and I were members of the group that helped Jennifer Pickering start the Leaf Festival in 1995. So it's been quite a while. Jennifer and I are working on a Leaf book. And part of that work is to interview people regarding their experiences with Leaf. Kelly and I were at the beginning. Kelly and I were there when Leaf started in 1995. We were part of a core group of people Jennifer called on to help her create this new vision she called the Leaf Festival, which has now evolved into the Leaf Global Arts Project. So now let's turn to Kelly as she talks about her experiences with the Leaf Festival. She begins, however, reflecting on the recovery that's still going on around Asheville from the floods. So here's Kelly talking about what's going on right now.
Even though I wasn't directly affected, our house is fine. We were without power and water for 3 weeks, but we lived through it. Helped other people because Chris is a water filtration expert, so he's very busy now. It's just interesting to be in this time. There's so much going on in the world. There's so much going on in our country. There's so much going on in our community. And so trying to find glimpses of light in all of that. We went for a hike last weekend down to Bent Creek, which is near our home. And it's a really popular place to go hiking and biking. And people were out. They had cleared the trails in that one area, mainly through volunteers. We lost 40% of our tree canopy in Buncombe County, which is huge. To go hiking in an area that was so dense forest, to see a third of the trees down around you everywhere, huge trees. It's just unnerving, crazy to see and sad. But at the same time, we saw deer tracks, and a beaver had recently been chewing on a tree. We saw fish eggs in the water. So we saw signs of life through all of the chaos of the destruction. So spring will come. Every day is a little bit better. It's just an interesting place to be. I have decided that I need to just be really busy so that I'm not caught up in the community grief. I feel like I need to serve. So I have a ton of kids that I'm working with right now, like 13, which is more than I've ever had.
When I was a boy, I lived on Brevard Road, and we would go to Bent Creek, Lake Powhatan. We would go up there with my father, take 8mm camera, and I have old footage of us swimming and frolicking in that lake in the 50s. So I know that area very well. Tell me about walking in the area, dealing with the grief, and how that felt in your body? What was it like? Can you describe that for us?
It's like disbelief, right? Like you're looking at it, you see the trees are down, you see that the river rose, I don't know, 20 feet above its banks. It rerouted the creek. It looks completely different. There's rock beds now everywhere. It churned up underneath the river and brought all those rocks up, which I've never seen here. You know, you see that out west all the time, rock beds. Now all the rivers have rock beds, which is, it's kind of blows your mind when you see it. So it's the sense of like disbelief that this has happened, that these trees are down and that the creek is different, the river looks different, everything looks mangled and kind of torn apart. There's a sense of like sadness and grief about that, like just seeing that destruction. At the same time, like I said, I saw little moments of that I knew spring was coming, and I knew that there was going to like there's going to be leaves on these trees again, and the trees that have fallen are going to be nutrients for all of the little animals that are going to show up in the spring that need those nutrients from those roots, and they will decay, and then the worms will come in, and it's a cycle. One minute it was this way, the next minute it's completely changed. In the noticing, like I said, new growth, animal tracks in the mud, and different things. And Chris and I were specifically looking for signs, whatever those signs were, starting to just see there's beauty in this as well as destruction. We see the beauty in it. We see the destruction in it. There were so many people out walking. Such an outdoorsy area here where outdoor lifestyle is very important to people. So to see the community coming together and wanting to be back on the trails and wanting to enjoy nature again is really important. So it was good to see that too. That was heartwarming. So it's going to be okay. We know it's going to be okay. It's just going to take some time. We live in a beautiful community of people that are helping each other and doing their best and taking care of one another. And that was, I think, my biggest takeaway from the whole experience was seeing how the community came out, and we really came together. My daughter came, she was going to come to Leaf, which was supposed to be like 2 weeks after the storm, or maybe a little bit more than that. But she was going to come up to go to the festival with us, and she grew up at the festival. And she hadn't been in quite a while because she lives in Oregon, and she was going to bring her partner who had never been. And so she, she has all these ideas and stories and experiences that she remembers, that she was going to bring her partner that had never been to Leaf and introduce him to these people and these places and these experiences. And she was so excited about it. And after the hurricane, I said to her, if you want to cancel and just come later or come to another time, she said, no, Mom, we want to come and we want to volunteer. So they came, and we actually went to Carrie Hampton's house in an area in Swannanoa, where at the bottom of her street, 12 houses washed away, completely gone. And so her house was flooded. The basement level of her house was flooded. Her house is okay structurally, but she lives in a disaster area. One person died on her street. It was really intense. So we went and volunteered at her house and did a bunch of cleanup and cut trees in her yard and pulled things out of her basement and did a cleanup for her. That night, there was a candlelight vigil in downtown Asheville. The mayor was there, firefighters, police officers, EMT. There was a choir from a local church, several different spiritual leaders, everything from a Buddhist leader to Catholic church. And everybody got up and they either said a prayer or they gave words of thanks, meaningful words of hope for the community. And there was probably 2,000 people. And, a lot of people left Asheville when this happened because if you had small children, you were going to leave and you were going to go find someplace to stay, because we had no water or power in the entire city of Asheville for 3 weeks, which meant gas stations weren't open, grocery stores weren't open. You couldn't flush your toilet. It was pretty intense. So if you had a family and you had somewhere to go, you left. In my neighborhood, it was 75% of the households left. And we stayed, but most people left. It was dark at night. It was quiet. The only thing you could hear were sirens and helicopters for 3 weeks. At the candlelight vigil, after all of the singing and prayers and words by different community leaders, the entire group of people, the 2,000 people that gathered there, we all lit candles and sang Stand By Me. And everybody cried together, held hands, young, old. It was just incredible. Like, it's making me tear up a little bit right now just thinking about it. But it was just that moment of like, it's going to be okay. It's because of this community and because of the strength of this community that we're going to help each other and we're going to get through this and we're going to make it. And that was really meaningful for me to have that, because otherwise we were at home helping our neighbors in our own little community, but to go out and to feel that sense of hope and oneness as a whole was really, really important. And I left that vigil, and Jennifer was there. Many friends from Leaf were there. And we left that vigil. I felt better than I had since the hurricane had hit. I had this sense inside that we're going to be okay. It's going to take some time, but everybody here, we're all in this together and we're all going to help each other. And that was really wonderful.
The vigil and your description of walking in Bent Creek match up a bit. It's the same sense of optimism. Am I getting that right?
Yeah. And that's what we need. We need to have that sense of optimism to be able to make it through this. You have to look for those little glimpses of hope around you. You just have to take the time to look and see them and notice them and have that awareness and accept it, that it's going to be okay. We're going to be okay. And so that's kind of something that I try to do every single day, especially if I'm having a day where I'm just feeling down. I have several kids that I work with whose homes were destroyed. I have to be that optimism and that hope for them as well.
You mentioned, because of the flood and because of the hurricane and everything that happened in Asheville, you've been more focused on the students, staying busy, helping people. You mentioned Leaf 2 or 3 times. You mentioned Jennifer Pickering, the director of Leaf Global Arts, along with many, many others. She doesn't do it by herself. Leaf Global Arts is a powerful organization, and you and I have been involved in it for a long time. After the hurricane came through Asheville, how has it changed your view of Leaf Global Arts' role? How do you view it now? And is there a different lens you're looking through? And what does that lens look like? What can Leaf do now that maybe you didn't think it could do before the hurricane hit?
Well, I think Leaf has always been a beacon of inclusion, diversity, arts, culture, community. All of those things are the foundational pieces that make Leaf what it is. You can go to a festival and you can just be there as a festival goer, thinking that you're just going to go see a really great band or you're going to take a workshop in something. You leave with something completely different. You leave with a sense of, I've been part of something this weekend that is much bigger than me, that I felt like I was part of a global community. I met and witnessed and experienced people and music and art and dance and the flow of creativity from people and how it brings people joy and how it brings people together. It doesn't matter what language you speak. It doesn't matter where you're from in the world. Music, creativity, the arts can bring you together in a way that nothing else can. There's no words. You don't have to have words to share your music with someone. You don't have to know the lyrics to feel the feeling that you get from hearing a song. You can feel the energy. You can feel the emotion. You understand what that song is about, even if you don't know the lyrics. And I would say that that's true across all of the different art forms. The commonality is that you're sharing something. And you're sharing something from your heart, something that's very authentic to you with other people. You're vulnerable. And that opens up this window for others to then be vulnerable as well. And that shared vulnerability that you have with other people is this connection piece that we as humans all have to each other, no matter where we're from, what part of the world we're from, what age we are, what culture we belong to, whatever it is, what religion we follow. There's a commonality to people, and that's shared vulnerability. And that comes out through creativity. And I think what has happened since the storm with Leaf is to have that as something that you can offer to the community as a way to grieve, or as a way to have more hope, or as a way to have a sounding board or a place to be authentic, to share your feelings of whatever it is that you need to share, and to do it authentically and honestly with other people. that's a wonderful thing that people have. If Leaf can be that beacon for them, and it is for children in our community for sure. I know that Leaf just did a big program recently at one of the schools, and it was like an all-day program with a bunch of different musicians. But what I noticed from the program and from watching the program at the school, these were kids that were engaged for an entire day. It's going to bring joy to them. That is going to uplift them. That is going to make them feel like they are part of something that's wonderful. And then they can take that home and they can share their experience with their parents. And then they can have this shared exchange about what they felt and how it affected them and how it brought them joy. And now maybe they want to start to sing songs or they want to be creative. And so to expose children to that type of open, honest creativity, we're spreading joy, and we're also connecting children to their own joy. What do they have to bring to the table? What are their gifts? And I think that that's something that Leaf has been doing since the very beginning. And I think they're just going to continue to do that even more now. And in our community, we need that kind of hope and joy every single day.
You've been involved with Leaf as long as I have, which is to say we started Leaf with Jennifer, or she started it with her idea, and then we supported her momentum and continue to do so to this day. Give us a quick review of your involvement with Leaf, and I want to use that review to build into what's currently going on with Leaf Global Arts. So just a quick overview of your involvement, if you would, please.
Okay. I was working at this nice little music festival in Black Mountain called the Black Mountain Music Festival, or the Black Mountain Folk Festival, actually, which had been going on for quite a few years, and it was very grassroots. I had been offered a job there working with the people who would come and sell arts and crafts at the festival. There was a little art show that would happen during the weekend. And so I would meet those, greet those people, and I would sign them in and get them set up and all of that. And had been working there for a couple of years. And then Jennifer came in with her idea to start Leaf. Black Mountain Folk Festival was going to be leaving and they were going to be moving off site. So she hired some of the people that had been working at that festival, and I was one of those people. At the time when she came to me with her idea, I was really excited because I felt like she had a fresh vision for what could happen. And she wanted to include some other art forms that weren't being expressed at the music festival, poetry being one of them, spoken word. And so I was excited to start to work with her. Along with you and I think 3 other people, we got on board and kind of brought all of our skills to the table and helped manifest her idea.
And what was your involvement as you moved along through it?
Well, I did almost every job at Leaf at some point, but for the first 12 years, mainly I was the vendor director. So we would jury in artists from all over the country, a beautiful art and craft showcase of artists that were there for the weekend. I was also in charge of food trucks, culinary offerings at the festival. I worked the VIP section. I helped with volunteers. I helped run the kids village at one point. Like as the festival evolved and we started to add new areas, new experiences for things, the people that were the main core staff would help to start those areas. And then we would hire other staff eventually to come in and kind of run them. But we were the ones that would be coming up with all the ideas, the focal points of what we wanted the experience to be like for people. And then it would just evolve on its own based on who came in. But a really good example of that, I love this story, is that during the festival it's this beautiful camp, 600-acre camp with 2 lakes. And there's a pathway that meanders through the festival campsite. And along that path, there would be children that would show up over the course of the weekend, and they would sell rocks. They would pick up rocks from the lake and they would put them on a little blanket and they would sell rocks, and they would yell at passerbys, "Rocks for sale." And it was kind of cute at first. We were like, "Oh, that's so cute. They're selling rocks." And then I noticed that over a course of a couple of festivals, it started to become a thing. And there was like 10 or 12 kids lining this little pathway, selling everything from rocks to candy that they went out to the store to buy, and all kinds of just mixed mash stuff. And I went to Jennifer and I said, "I think that the kids selling things along the pathway is getting a little out of control. We need to find a way for the kids to be involved. Obviously, they want to be involved. They want to be doing something interactive. Let's take this idea of kids selling and let's make it a kids market where kids can actually be like the adult art and craft market vendors, and they could have a little market of their own. And she loved the idea. She said, yes, let's do it. So when we came up with the idea, it was going to be the kids' art market. We had to come up with a couple of rules. Basically, you couldn't sell anything that you bought like candy. We just because of insurance reasons, we couldn't do that. So we said, let's make it a handcraft market. So the kids could make things. They needed to be handmade. They needed to be less than $20. So we didn't want them coming in with hundreds of dollars of things. $20. You could set it up on a blanket. I think those are the only rules, really. It had to be handmade. It had to be under $20. And within a couple of festivals, we had like 100 kids. And I started hearing stories from parents about how their kids would plan at the festival before what they were going to make at the next festival. And they would go out and get materials at the craft store, and they would start tie-dyeing handkerchiefs, and they would make jewelry, and they would be painting little paintings and making bookmarks. And the amount of creative joy that came out of these kids to be able to make something, to go to Leaf and sell it. They were selling these things for like 50 cents or $1. And the creativity was amazing. I know you've seen it. You've seen the kids' market and the stuff that kids were making. It was unbelievable. And my own kids at the time were 6 and 8, and my daughter wanted to make candles. So we spent months learning how to do candle making together so she could make candles to sell at Leaf. And my son wanted to sell swords. And I was like, I don't know. I don't think we could sell swords. But then we said, maybe you could carve a wooden dagger or something that you pretend sword play. And he actually learned how to carve wood and was hand carving wooden swords that he would then engrave with a heat tool, and he would engrave them and paint them. And they were elaborate. They were beautiful. Now they had to be under $20, but these were beautiful pieces of art. And my kids would spend months doing it. One spark of an idea just snowballed into this beautiful way for people to express themselves. I always loved the kids' market. It was the first place that I would always go and buy from. Before I even looked at the professional artists, I would go and support the youth artists every time. And it was so much fun, and it's still happening today.
Do you know if any of those young people who started all that time ago moved on into entrepreneurial careers? Have you tracked that?
I'm sure they have. I remember one year I had a couple people, I think, ask me. They had a son or daughter, too old. Our age limit for the youth was 13. So you had to be under that age. And so they were in between stage. And so I had been asked about it. And it was actually my daughter at the time that this all kind of came about. She was just going into high school, and she wanted to go to Australia on a trip that was being done by a local organization where you could go and be a student ambassador in Australia for a month. And it was quite expensive. Okay, maybe we need to figure something out. My daughter wants to go to Australia. Maybe she can do a fundraiser. Maybe she could do this art thing and maybe play around with that and see how that might work. And then maybe this can be something we can integrate. It was like an invitational. We had one 20 by 20 tent that we had donated, and we invited 4 teenage artists. You had to apply to get in. We had a bookmaker. We had a potter. My daughter Samantha made homemade hula hoops, which was very popular. These were promising young people who were into becoming artists and wanted to have an outlet where they could come and they could get feedback about their art. They could sell their art. They could learn the ins and outs of how to be an artist. They could network with the other artists that were there. And we did that for 2 or 3 festivals, and it was very successful. And I got great feedback from both the teens and from the parents about how thankful they were that they were able to have that experience.
That's a terrific story all the way around. It brings to mind a philosophical approach that Jennifer Pickering has always taken with Leaf Global Arts, and has infused the entire festival with this approach. Say yes. In saying yes to the small idea, it grows into the large idea. So much of what we have going on in this culture right now runs in the opposite direction. Say no. Let's block this. No, that's not right. No, you can't do this. No, you can no longer have your job. You have to go somewhere else. No, that's not right. So there's a lot of no going on in this culture. From an educational point of view, and you're an educator, you teach adults, you work with the Artist Way concepts by Julia Cameron, you teach in schools, you have your own business. teaching people how to become more engaged creatively. It goes on and on and on. You've been doing it ever since we met years and years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Tie yes to adult learning and education. And it also occurred to me a little bit more to work with here. Leaf Global Arts is an ongoing learning center, a living, breathing educational institute that has yes written on the sign instead of open.
We used to joke about how it was a summer camp for adults, how you would go to summer camp as a kid and you would take an art and craft class and you would take a music class and you would go sleep in the bunks with your friends and then you would go to the camp store and buy some cool stuff. It's like that for adults. Leaf is this permission to go to this place for the weekend and immerse yourself in all of these things that in your everyday life, maybe you don't have time for. Maybe you're struggling to figure out what are you interested in? What do you want to do? The busy day-to-day lifestyle doesn't give you the time or the permission to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go to something like Leaf and you are there for the weekend and you are immersed, it is all around you. You can't deny it. It's going to seep into your pores. And so you leave with this sense of, I've had this experience, but it was experiential. I didn't just go and watch somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I was a part of it. I did these things and I am now changed because of it. I am now connected to myself and to my creativity in ways that I didn't even know that I had. I've heard that story over and over. It's what draws people to come to Leaf. It's not just because of one band or because of one artist that they want to see. It's the entire experience, the immersion of all of these things together, the people, the arts, the beauty of the place, the calmness, the sense that you can't use your phone over the weekend. It's very hard to use your cell phone at Leaf. You might be able to get a signal, but maybe not. And that's a good thing. Yeah. You're disconnected from the outside world for a little bit, all that hustle and bustle, and you just are being your authentic self with a lot of other people that are doing the exact same thing, looking for that commonality, that community, and having this shared experience.
So say more about the educational part that you're involved in with Leaf, and how does that tie all of this together? Can you just build a little bit more on that?
Well, you're allowed to go. I mean, there are so many options of different experiences that you can have. You can go listen to music. You can learn how to contra dance. You can go to a spoken word event. You can take a workshop and how to play the fiddle or how to be a singer-songwriter. There's a whole healing arts area, and I've been involved in the healing arts aspect of it for a couple of years. I'm a trained labyrinth facilitator. So I came and I built a labyrinth on the grounds of the festival. And then I taught people about the labyrinth and how it could be used as a walking meditation. Some people who have seen a labyrinth before knew what it was, but didn't really understand how to use it. Some people just knew about it already and were just excited to have one on the grounds that they could use. You're getting an experience where you're not just learning about something, you can actually experience it. So I would teach people, this is a labyrinth, this is how you can use it. And then I would give them the time and space to actually walk the labyrinth and then ask them when they come out, how was that for you? How did that feel? And what did you get out of that? And so there's lots of opportunities for that. You can go to a yoga class, you can go to a sound healing, you can take a nature walk and learn about the different trees and the berries that are being grown in the place. There's so many opportunities to learn about something new, maybe something that you didn't even know you were interested in until you saw it on the weekend program. And you went, oh, sound bath, what is that? I've heard of it, but I don't really know what it is. Here's my opportunity to go and experience it and see what it's like. The education is intrinsic in all of the things that are done. So you might go see a musician from Africa play on stage, but then he will have a meet and greet where you can go talk to him and find out more about his music. He'll tell stories about where he's from and how he got into music. He might be the last musical artist from the village that he lives in that country. You're learning about culture. You're learning about music. You're learning about how it connects people. You're learning about how this is generationally something that's been passed down through families and is now being brought to you, where you then get to experience it and take that home with you. And then what are you going to do? You're going to share it with other people. and you're going to tell that story to others. And then somebody else is going to learn about it and be interested and maybe go buy that CD or share it with somebody else. It's connecting people across many different avenues through creativity.
Jennifer and I are working on the Leaf Global Arts book celebrating all 30 years of Leaf. What are some of the benefits, maybe 5 benefits that you think we would be wise to include in this text? What do you think people really would like to know?
I think people would want to know how it changed someone's life in some way to have that creative connection. Some examples of that might be that they saw somebody playing an instrument at Leaf that just spoke to them, and they went home and started taking music lessons, something they've been wanting to do their whole life, and they just didn't feel inspired enough to do it, or didn't feel that they could do it. I would say that children who attend Leaf and are exposed to all of this creativity, the sense of freedom and being able to just roam around with your friends at the camp and just immerse yourself in all of these fun activities. I grew up in the 70s, right? Where we would be gone all day. Our parents didn't even know where we were in the neighborhood. And nowadays, people hold on to their children so tightly. Their kids are home and they're on their iPads and they're all their electronics. They're not out playing as much. I see kids play more in 3 days at Leaf than they have their entire lives. And they're just like, they take off and they're all dirty. They got dirt all over them. They've been rummaging through the woods. They've been over at the foam bath area. Then they're going to go and swim in the lake, and they're being kids in a way that you don't get in our culture a lot anymore. That freedom of just going out and just having fun, and mom and dad, I'll see you later on at Eden Hall for dinner. And the parents are like, yep, go have fun. That doesn't happen in our culture. I think that kids have a unique experience. I think adults have a unique experience in that it's like a family reunion. We're going to see people that we only see once or twice a year on these grounds that we've met maybe at another festival that we had a connection to, and we look forward to seeing those people. They come because they know that there's going to be something really good, something that they didn't even know, that they've never heard of before, an artist that they've from a country they've never heard of before. And they're going to experience this, and they're going to take it home and be exposed to something so new and unique. They couldn't have even imagined it. And that is something that they then take into their own community and go, hey, I just saw this great band. It's something I've never even heard of. They're from this country, they're in Africa, that I didn't even know existed. I think that connection, that bond that we get to those cultures, to those people, to the friends that we meet, to the never-ending smile on your face the entire weekend, where your face hurts by Sunday because you've done nothing but smile and laugh for 3 days. That's actually happened. I've had a face ache. Tapping into the joy that is found, rediscovered, sought out through creativity in ways that people don't even recognize how it's going to affect their lives. And then they leave and they take that with them. And then they go, we can't wait till the next time. That was so amazing. Let's go back.
We are now in the digital space. People are connected. And yet people are still going into the analog space of Leaf Global Arts, the festival. Still, though, we're broadcasting all of this online as well. From an education point of view, can you reflect on how you see all of that collaborating and coalescing? And as you work in your arenas of creativity, arenas of expression, working with adults who didn't get to play or who remember play and haven't played in a while, how does 2025 all fit into this now? What's going on? The hurricane hit, the storm came. We are now looking at the world through a lens that we haven't looked at in a long time, good and bad. Some thoughts on that, if you would.
I think we need the arts more than anything, more than ever now, for those reasons. We need a place where we can go and connect with ourselves, with others. We need a place where we can feel authentic. We need a place where we can feel emotional, where we can express ourselves, where we can feel that others like-minded people and people that are also wanting to connect in that way are there. And I think Leaf Global Arts has always been this beacon of a place where you're going to find those people. You're going to find others who want to connect in that way. Leaf Global Arts is not just working in our own community, they're working throughout the world. Culture keepers in other countries who are sustaining creativity practices in their own village, because, again, they may be the last known keeper of whatever modality that may be. Leaf seeks those people out and gives them funding so that they can teach others, teach young people in their community, teach young people in their region, to keep that going in these times, in these turbulent times. And, we're in this cycle, right? Things sometimes have to be torn all the way down in order for something new to grow. In that, things have been torn down. What is new to grow? What's going to be the thing that helps that to grow, right? In nature, it's going to be sun, it's going to be water, it's going to be, the mycelium that goes in there. For Leaf, it is the culture keepers, it is the Leaf teaching artists, it is the artists and musicians who we support and who we want to continue to support so that they can continue to shine their light in the world and offer that to other people so that they can bring in those people and give them an opportunity.
That's incredible. I love those sentiments. And on that note, as we move toward concluding, talk a bit about what you do in your own professional life so we can have a frame around your view of the world, how you go about engaging from an educational point of view, how you teach creativity, your Artist Way experience. I've taught Artist Way workshops for years. You've taught them now for some time. And I would just like for you to reflect on adults and you and how you engage with adults and how the Leaf sensibility affects your life beyond the Leaf Global Arts community.
I facilitate workshops and classes in Artist Way, in Labyrinths, and in Soul Collage, and lots of other things too. I'm an artist myself. I've taught classes in all different genres, modalities, all different mediums. I tend to find that my favorites are the ones that give opportunities for others to self-reflect and to find within themselves the parts of themselves that they are looking for, that they maybe feel that they've lost. It's a nurturing. How can I nurture my soul? What is my soul's purpose? There's a spirituality piece to that, but there's also a creativity piece to that. And what often nurtures people's souls is the ability to be vulnerable, to be open, to have the ability to try something new. That's one of the things that I love about Artist Way is it kind of pushes you to go beyond your bounds a little bit and try something, even though you don't think it's going to be something that you're going to want to do it anyway, because you never know what's going to happen out of that moment. All the offerings that I have, they have a component where you are asked to do something that might be a little bit uncomfortable, just because maybe you're not sure that you're going to be good at it, or that it's something that's going to be your thing. Out of that experience of just trying something new, looking within yourself and reflecting upon how it felt to do that thing, you're learning something new about yourself. And it opens up another doorway for you to then say, okay, well, that wasn't as bad as I thought, or oh, that was uncomfortable. What does that mean? Why am I uncomfortable with this? And what I have heard from people over and over again is what they're looking for a way to open up those gates of uncomfortability to feel more authentic within themselves. And anything that I can do that opens that up for other people, or it lets them see themselves in that light, life-changing. And my own story, I have one little anecdote that I can give about that. My whole life I've been wanting to play music. Both my kids are very musical. I've been at a music festival for 30 years. I'm around music all the time. I don't play an instrument, right? It's something I've always wanted to do. And during the pandemic, I started taking an online ukulele class. And I thought, okay, it's online. I don't have to see anybody one-on-one. They don't have to see if I'm doing it right or not. They can't even see my instrument. It's on a Zoom call, right? But I'm going to pluck along. And the ukulele is fun because it looks kind of like a toy. So you don't really take it very seriously, right? But I thought this is a really good place to start. So I take this ukulele class and it was really fun. After that was done, I started taking a local class. I kind of reached out and found somebody locally down the street at a music school, started taking an adult ukulele class. And in that class, I met so many interesting people that are doing amazingly interesting things in the world. And they're like me, they're curious, they want to play an instrument, they want to do it for fun. And at one of those lessons, we sing all the songs that we are playing. And I was really afraid of singing. I don't really think that I have a good voice. I remember when I was in middle school, I was going to be in this play and it was a musical and I got taken out by the music teacher. She basically took me out of a place that I had and put me in the chorus. And I was so embarrassed and shamed by that I just thought I couldn't sing. And I told the story and she said, anybody can sing. You just have to have the confidence that you can do it. And you might need, some classes so I can teach you how to breathe properly or whatever. So I said, okay, you know what? I'm open to it. And I went into my first voice class with her and she ran the scales on the piano and I was singing each of the notes. And it comes to find out I have a 3-octave range and I have a beautiful voice. First of all, I needed permission. I needed somebody to give me a little bit of encouragement to say, it's okay, you can do it. I can show you. And then she just made me feel so comfortable. I left that lesson crying, so excited. That idea that I had about myself from middle school was not true. And that I actually could sing. I sing loud and proud now. I am a full-on ukulele singer in our groups. And it is so much fun. And I have gotten so much joy out of it. If I can do something like that or help somebody else have that feeling, I'm all in.
That's really a terrific story. I love my voice and I like doing the radio. And I like to sing as well. I have no sound in my head. I do not hear any music in my head and never have. I can't match the sound of my voice with anything I hear in my head. I can match the sound with something I hear outside. So I can match a note. But if I'm left on my own to sing happy birthday, I can't match it. And so I've always thought I was not able to sing.
Right.
And indeed, if I'm left on my own to sing even a simple melody, I can't find the notes because I think I'm on the note and I'm never on the note because I don't have any reference for it. So it's been a really interesting dance with me and singing. It's about loving one's voice as much as anything else. And the musicality of the voice belongs in the category of singing, even if it's not in the category of Elvis or Billie Holiday or any of the rest. So, Kelly, we've come to the end of our time together, and I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to be with us. And is there anything you'd like to say in closing? How can people connect with you?
Well, I do have a website. It's kellyhansonart.com, Hanson. And I list, any events or workshops that I'm running, and you can connect with me there. And of course, you'll see me at Leaf. So come to Leaf if you're listening to this and you're interested in connecting with your inner authentic self, or you're curious about how can I connect with other people who are authentic and who want to be in community with others and just be joyful. It is a wonderful, wonderful community of people from all over the world. And it has changed my life for the best, for the better. Absolutely. And I know so many others who have been touched by the work that Leaf Global Arts does. And I'm just so proud and thankful for the time that I've had there. Knowing you, Navé, has been a big piece of that. We're good friends. It's a beautiful, beautiful organization that deserves attention. It deserves support as we try to support others as well. And thank you so much for having me today. It was really fun.
Kelly, I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much as well. And we'll do it again sometime soon. And there you go, my friends. Thus concludes my conversation with Kelly Hanson about her involvement with Leaf Global Arts, as well as some thoughts on the flood recovery, which is still going on in Asheville. And part of that flood recovery will be the Leaf Global Arts Retreat, which is happening in May. And what I mean by recovery, it's more of a celebration, which will happen May 8 through 11 at Lake Eden and Camp Rockmont in Swannanoa, North Carolina, one of the places that made national news when the hurricane hit. 3 weeks prior to the scheduled 2024 Leaf Fall Festival, which was called off like everything else in western North Carolina after the hurricane hit and wiped out so much. I wasn't there, so I have no concept of the scale. It's hard to imagine a large river rising 25 feet above its flood level and going for miles and miles and miles. How far in that would go beyond the riverbanks, I can't imagine. People have told me it was a great distance. 25 feet, that's at least 2 stories high in a building, so you can get a sense of how much power was there and how much washing away was done. And even the smaller streams had huge, huge washes as well. Swannanoa was in the middle of all that, and so was Lake Eden and Camp Rockmont. So the recovery continues, and the Leaf Global Arts Retreat happens in May. I'm going to be there, happy to contribute what I can to the retreat and all of the events that will be happening during the weekend. One of the things the Leaf Global Arts Retreat offers that I particularly enjoy are all of the workshops. When you come to the Leaf Retreat, you have an opportunity to attend workshops, seminars, conversations, and the many other learning opportunities offered by the talent that participates in the Leaf Global Arts Retreat. As you probably know, most talented people who are in the arts also teach workshops. For example, I love to write poetry. I love to perform poetry, so I teach workshops around writing and performance. I enjoy doing this radio show, interviewing people like Kelly. So during the Leaf Retreat, I get the chance to facilitate seminars and panel discussions on different subjects, like how to make a book, for example. In the conversation Kelly and I just had, you may remember we briefly discussed our interest in creativity based on Julia Cameron's book, The Artist Way. I've been teaching Artist Way classes for 30 years. Kelly's been doing it for 2 or 3 years, and we have both taught in-person live Artist Way creativity classes in Asheville. So, this coming May at the Leaf Global Arts Retreat, Kelly and I are going to host an Artist Way seminar and salon, where anyone interested in creativity from the Artist Way point of view can get together with us and discuss it. So the Leaf Global Arts Retreat is a community gathering where we can all get together and talk to each other with some ease in 2025, which is, for many of us, not a very easy time. It certainly has been a struggle in the last few months around Asheville. So when May comes, spring will be in full bloom. I'm looking forward to it. I'm planning to teach an imaginative storm writing workshop during the Leaf Retreat. I've mentioned the Imaginative Storm Writing Project many times on this show. I keep mentioning it because I'm so enthusiastic about how the work has affected my writing, my storytelling, even the way I come at this show. While I know poets and writers aren't supposed to be competitive, my experience is that many of us, we tend to compare our work to others, which means we're competing even when we think we're not competing. While this may not be your experience, I'm here to tell you I have experienced this over the years. I remember times seeing poets stand on stage and perform like crazy and get standing ovations. I felt jealous when I saw that. If that jealousy is not a sign of competition, what is? So with the Imaginative Storm Writing Project, all the work I've been doing for the last 5 years, I'm dramatically less inclined to be jealous or compare myself to anybody else. The reason I'm feeling less competitive, not so jealous, is because I'm doing volume now, and I'm able to do that because of the Imaginative Storm work. I'm creating so much material, much of which I never use, I just discard because I enjoy creating it. Because of that, I'm just not feeling all that competitive to compare what I'm doing, what I'm creating, with what other people are creating. I'm fine for the work everybody else does. I'm happy with the joy I feel when I generate the work I create. And this radio show is part of that work. I'm sitting on a couch in Manila recording this off the cuff, thinking about it as I go, composing it as I go, telling you firsthand right now what I'm doing. There's an overhead fan spinning. It's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The day is bright. It's warm outside. My feet are bare. I'm wearing shorts. I am not in the North American winter. I have headphones on. I'm speaking into a microphone, and I'm recording this just as you hear it right now. I'm not fussed about how good it is. I'm not fussed about if it will change the world or not. I'm just speaking to you as if you were right here next to me on the couch as I'm recording this. Real time, real conversation, very present. That's what the Imaginative Storm writing project has done for me. It's given me the permission just to be myself like I'm doing now. And the now that I'm speaking to you from will be the past you will be listening to me from when you hear this in the environment of your now, which will be different than the environment I just described. And yet, wherever you are right now, you can do what I just did, describe the environment you are in. If you jot that down, you will have a piece of writing. If you speak it aloud, you'll have the beginnings of a story. So at the Leaf Global Arts Retreat, during the Imaginative Storm writing workshop, we will be in the barn, surrounded by all kinds of barny things, maybe even an owl, who knows? I have to say, I've been in the barn at Lake Eden many times. It's a beautiful barn, worthy of a wedding or a concert. I haven't seen an owl yet, but I'm still holding out hope. Maybe one will fly through in May, who knows? So before we say goodbye, I would like to read for you an Imaginative Storm poem I wrote on one of our Saturday calls. This poem was generated in 10 minutes. It's about work, and it's titled, The Ones Who Feed Fires. Thirst belongs to the ones who feed fires. Women watch over grace in the ruin of forgotten things. All in this together, the conductor says every day on the train from Newark Airport to Union Station. The moneymen in glass tower over birds that can't sing. They count work, toil, and trouble. Am I free? Can I find water and geese and the house with the brown roofs? Get to work, the moneymen say. My hands orchestrate silver splashes and sure-footed rhymes. Daddy, come home, they all said before Daddy vanished over the ridge into smoke and flowers and insurance policies that would never pay out. I sat with my friend last fall. Body warm, hot tea, memory gone. Lost behind the cogs, the machines, the handmade brooms that once knew fields and love and jazz made by bees. Payday, payday, cash that check. The women watch grace, the men watch grace. Ice falls across old windows. The church on the corner has no need for wind. It belongs to the trees and God and the little things that lie so easy at the altar of lost faith, lost dreams. You'll find me at the river with the white feathers and the crows. It's my turn now. Shoulder to the wheel. Thirst belongs to the ones who feed fires. And that, my friends, is a poem that I wrote in 10 minutes. I did edit it a bit, but not all that much. It's pretty much as it came out. So that'll give you a sense of what the Imaginative Storm writing efforts have given me in return for all my work. So if you happen to be at the Leaf Global Arts Retreat Community Gathering and you are nearby while I'm doing the retreat, I would love to have you drop in. Join us. Maybe you'll write something too. Read it aloud. I'll record it. Perhaps I'll put it on the show. Who knows? All of that is to say, I'm glad you've listened. I'm glad you've been with me. I really appreciate everything Kelly does for us. I'm grateful that you're out there somewhere in the world doing whatever you're doing, however you're doing it, And again, thank you ever so much for listening to Twice 5 Miles Radio, fertile ground for conversations worth listening to. And remembering, I'm your host, James Navé, always airing first on WPVMLP Asheville 103.7 and streaming online, WPVMFM.org, the voice of Asheville, heard all over the world, and on other community radio stations like KCEI, Cultural Energy Radio out of Taos, New Mexico. Thank you, Walter Parks, for our theme song. WalterParks.com for more on Walter's music. Thank you, Devine Dial, for managing WPVM-FM in Asheville, and Robin Collier for managing KCEI, Cultural Energy Radio out of Taos, New Mexico. If you'd like to reach me, Navé at jamesnavé.com. I would love to hear from you. And of course, we are sponsored by the Imaginative Storm Writing Project. If you would like to improve your writing chops, imaginativestorm.com is a great place to go. And just for fun, before we say our final goodbye, what I would like to do is do an Imaginative Storm improv based on the list of words I generated last Saturday on our call. I'm sitting on the couch looking at the list of words, so here goes. The old skulls beyond the heavy material that lies across the cashed-out world, problems without extensions. I go to church and cash myself out with too many dreams folded across the expressions of, at last, my darling, I have only $2 more to throw into the higgly-piggly world. Cash me out once more. What's important? Why do the masculine memories bump against the bleeding diamonds in the fierce loyalty that surveils the entire rolling fields, there where my favorite things sit in a reading room beside some other books that wait for the train wrecks to come across the tracks? I wish I could tell you why the eyes are always flashing my way in the moment when the sun comes up and I say hello to the day. Thank you ever so much for listening to Twice 5 Miles Radio. I do hope you lean into the day wherever you are, and I hope you come back very soon. Till then, hey, maybe I'll catch you on that turnaround somewhere down the line.